Hey, what's
Hey
up,
guys.
everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Fore Dads Podcast. You got me, Don Julio, and Tees here today. Hope everybody had a great week. We made an announcement last week stating that we were going to have a professional player join us this week, but unfortunately, things have kind of changed, and we are just going to do our normal show today, talk about some things in sports, and we have some awesome news to share with you guys as well. So let's get into it. What do you want to start with, John?
I definitely want to talk about the whole Rory and Reed situation and the TEEGATE that was happening. That one was kind of crazy. It kind of reminded me of just the media today, how when I first heard about it, it was all like, oh my gosh, Patrick Reed chucked a tee at Rory. Like that could have like crossed his neck, dude. He could have been seriously injured. And then like you see the video and he's literally walking away and barely like just like tosses at him like it's not a big deal. But I mean, what do you think about this whole situation? I think it's ridiculous.
I mean, dude, like Reed has burned every single bridge that he has with everybody that's on the tour. I mean, the way that he spoke down about the PGA when he made his move over to LIV and his constant cheating. I mean, I still think back to Arizona where, he blatantly puts his club down in the sand, knocks a piece, knocks the sand back so he has a clear takeaway. And it's like, how are you going to sit there and try and, defend yourself and say, no, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. When it's like you are on live television. Everything that you do is being watched. So why?
This is in the 60s. Yeah, every single angle.
It's more of just like where you're a professional. Where's your professional courtesy and like the respect for the game and following the rules that you followed your entire career leading up to this, but leading up to that, to that moment. Like, what makes you think that you're bigger than the game and that the game owes you something? It doesn't owe you jack shit. Like you're essentially playing a child's game, just like you and I playing baseball. The game never changed; it just got faster. And here, the only thing that's getting bigger is the money pots. And you have a great opportunity to take home a lot of money for literally playing what myself, you, our friends dream of. I mean, us playing a skins game is like, oh fuck, like $24, like okay. Is everything good? And then I've even been in games where, it's $100. And yeah, it's like you put a little bit more pressure. I've even been in tournaments too where there's a skins game still involved in it. But it's like, Patrick, get your head out of your ass and understand, like, you are not bigger than the game. You are not bigger than the PGA, and you are not bigger than the LIV. You're not Tiger Woods. You don't get a pass for being a douche. Like, get over yourself. Like you ever since day one. Like, you just had an issue with everybody. I mean, everything that has happened with, during the Ryder Cup, having to be paired with Jordan and Jordan getting all the publicity for being the hero of it that, back in 2016, 2017 or something like that. Like, dude, we all understand you're contributing, but God, man, stop with the pettiness. And, and I totally respect Rory. Rory is just being a professional. Like, hey, man, I'm out here practicing. You gave me a subpoena on Christmas Eve for something you're going to sue me for. Like, why would I want to shake your hand? Why?
That's a tough one. Oh,
absolutely
man.
No sense.
Yeah, could you imagine that, man? Just trying to enjoy family time. I think it might have been his daughter's first Christmas, right? Or maybe second. I know he recently just had a daughter, Rory, but it's like, and you hear a knock on the door. Oh, is it Santa? No, you're getting subpoenaed. You're
getting served. You're getting served.
Oh,
but
to
kind of what you said, like with how the media may be trying to throw a little bit of fire to the flame, right? With saying like, oh, he could have really gotten hurt. He could have had, could have hit his eye, which it could have. I mean. You don't know that.
Pulled a Bryson DeChambeau and like the freaking rope.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, to me, it's like, why risk it? Why risk hurting somebody? Because if it was any other sport, if you were to throw something in another player's direction, you're talking about a potential suspension. You know, like you can't put another player in harm because they're a liability. They're a business asset, you know, to the
Especially
PGA,
Rory.
to the sponsors,
Right.
especially Rory. I mean, Rory's playing good golf this year, and you know, I know he's had a few little hiccups here, but he's human, just like us. Like it happens,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And he's been nothing but professional throughout this whole Live Tour thing, throughout the PGA. He's been, you know, the goody two shoes boy for the PGA, and hey, you know, he's earned a lot of respect with people. So, you know, for Patrick Reed to come over and the way he even walks over is just like, who do you think you are, dude? Like, you know, your pants are screaming, help me, let me loose. You know, it's like,
right. Oh
who do you
man.
think you are, man? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I've heard all the things with Patrick Reed. I really started following the PGA Tour back in probably 2020. You know, back when I really got back into it. I obviously followed it somewhat when I was in the golf industry back in 2015, 2016, but not to the extent now, mainly because I'm able to work from home majority of the like Thursdays and Fridays. And so because of that, I'll have it on the background. I'll be watching it, you know, and things like that while I'm working. And now that I'm following it more, I hadn't really seen too much of that Patrick Reed because I feel like that was not as much now, but more in the past stuff that he's done. But I have definitely seen the hatred on Twitter, on Instagram of people hating Patrick Reed. Always, all these just so much hate. And so I'm just like, I mean, I don't really know too much about it. Obviously, it sounds like you said he burned a bunch of his bridges, if not all of them. And I don't know. I mean, he's got a Masters jacket. I know he played for the Ryder Cup at one point, and he kind of looks like a pig. He's got a little pig face. And that's not being rude. I'm just being honest. Huh?
He's from Georgia.
He went to Augusta, right? Didn't he go to like Augusta College or Augusta University or something? Like
I thought he was a Bulldog.
Well, he might have originally, but he graduated or ended up playing somewhere else.
Oh yeah, I heard some story that like he was kicked off of the Georgia team for like.
Really, I wouldn't be surprised if he burned bridges. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was up there as well. You can look it up right now. But I mean, in that sense, I don't know. Like, I always just get frustrated when I hear one side of the story or one little snippet of something gets the outrage that it wants, and then the real stuff comes out, which I know obviously it wasn't as big of a deal as they made it with the whole Patrick Reed thing, but I was just like, really, come on, like you're really making it seem like it's that big of a deal. Yeah, what'd you find?
So he got kicked off the team at University of Georgia. He got kicked off the team due to having violated more than once team rules regarding alcohol and drugs.
The party animal, huh? I mean, if Kevin Kisner can hold it together in college, how does Patrick Reed not? Like, that guy is a party animal. Like,
I don't know. I mean, you don't hear a lot about like golfers in college who are just like absolute rock stars. I think the last one was probably Tiger, that everyone was like, oh my God, can you believe this kid's coming up? I haven't heard anybody who's making headlines like that. Right.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, maybe like a Jordan Spieth when he was in Texas. I know he had
much about him until he came on tour.
How about Ricky Fowler? No, I know like he was really loud. No.
I didn't hear anything about those guys until.
What did you hear about Patrick Reed? Have you heard about Patrick Reed before he got up to the pro?
No, I didn't hear anything about that. But what I mean, it's just something that you don't hear about. Like,
right. The fact that you found an article about it, yeah.
Well, to see that, he's getting kicked off the team due to just partying too hard. What if Patrick Reed was like the Johnny Manziel of golf?
Could you imagine the Johnny Manziel that actually like had the talent and like the prepper, like Johnny Manziel like 2.0, you know, where like he actually tried, he put effort into it. He didn't just like show up, you know, but put a little bit more effort, maybe not enough, but you know, enough. And
but I'm meaning more on the party side. Like, it sounds like he had a lot of violations at University of Georgia that got him to this point where, you know, I'm assuming due to the team's rules on alcohol, he probably showed up to workouts drunk as hell, probably missed 5 a.m. workouts.
Right.
Because he was so hungover. Like, even though it's not like televised to the level that it was with Johnny Manziel.
Yeah. Not under a microscope.
What if he was like the Johnny Manziel of golf for University for University of Georgia? That would be pretty funny.
It honestly would, but it's just crazy now to think how like all these people, like previous of like 3 years ago when the NIL became a thing for like, college sports, like how much money Johnny Manziel legally could have made, if he had an NIL deal, how much money, X amount of players.
Yeah. Now that it's all out there, like, dude, he did like a podcast, I think, with,
No, I know, but that was obviously illegal. But I'm just saying, like, how much he legally could have if he actually had people endorsing him, like he could have, instead of under the table and stuff like that. Like, it's just insane. I heard the quarterback for Ohio State, C.J. Stroud. They're like, well, he hasn't committed to being, in the NFL draft, and the due date to like claim that was like the 13th or whatever of January, or whatever a Monday was, and he declared it on like the last day that he's going to the NFL, and some people were speculating like, maybe they're getting an NIL deal going, like $3 million guaranteed, and like imagine being like in college football now, if you are a 5-star recruit, you will get your money's worth, and making the NFL is secondary and like above and beyond what you will obviously need to survive. Because before then, it was getting to the NFL, getting there not injured, getting there and performing well. And then that was your payday. Now the college is your payday if you're a 4 or 5-star recruit, and you're able to be like, hey, if I get injured, it sucks. Yeah, my career could be over, or it could have been dampened quite a bit, but at least I'm leaving with a couple million in my pocket. Like, the fact that is even possible is insane.
Well, here's my thing, and here's my thing on that. And, I think Prime, talks about it the best. I mean, he's very vocal about it. He's kind of an old school dude who's like, hey, your whole thing is to be a student athlete. Like, you need to learn how to manage this money, because if you do get to the league, you're going to have everyone coming after you saying, everyone. You need to know how to take care of this stuff, which, was one of the big motives why he did go to, Jackson State and start doing that, because he was like, man, these kids don't know. And I think right now we all hear the stories about how, football players kind of come from broken homes and, very, very low or high levels of poverty, and they really had to struggle.
You hear about it on ESPN every single draft pick. Oh, this guy has overcome. His mom died at like age 4. It's like, dude, can we hear something good and happy about this guy? He just
all this different stuff. I mean, here's my thing is like, I think if I had the ability to make that kind of money in college, like, dude, I would be handing it out like it was Skittles, honestly, because I think just coming from that place of like being grateful, right? Like knowing that every single person who helped you get to that point has sacrificed something, and you hear about it. I mean, you hear about it a lot. And I think as an athlete, like, some parents are very vocal about it. Like, hey, I sacrificed like my, this to give you these opportunities. I gave up dinners so you and your sister could eat, while I spent the last $12 that I had in my account to get you guys, Subway sandwiches or something, right? Like, just saying. And so again, it's, these young men are so young that it's like, okay, here, mom, go get yourself a house, go get this. It's kind of like when you're buying all these things, it comes with the responsibility. Now you're talking about having a mortgage in your name. You're talking about having lines of excessive credit open just because you have all this cash on hand. It's just like, you're paying for this, but ultimately you could throw that into something else and start preparing yourself for, if you do have a short career, like, Robert the Griffin III, and in the NFL, like, that's supposed to be a safety net. Like, get yourself there first, then take care of your family. So then that way you have more of a platform to kind of go out, get deals, be on ESPN. I mean, You want to talk about a guy who chases bags? Like, now that we're on this subject, of like money that can be made and kind of how the college, how young student athletes are able to capitalize on their fame and their skill. Dude, look at Shaq O'Neal. Shaq O'Neal is in everything. He's the chairman of Big and Tall. He has his own line of shoes where like literally he designs them off of like the top shoe, and we'll just put the dunk, the Shaq dunk on there, and sells them at Walmart for like $10 a piece.
The general, he's a general ads right too, right? Like,
yeah, everything. And then on top of that, it's like he's with oh god, I can't. He went so far as to like even having his name stamped on a pregnancy test, calling it the Shaq test.
What?
Like,
no way.
That was just released. Like a picture of it was just released a few days ago, and it's true. Like he literally has done everything and used his fame to be a walking billboard. Everything, and it's like that's all you need to do. I think once you get to that level, you have a decent 3-4 years of being in the NFL. Like people know who you are. Like look at Patrick Willis, man. Patrick Willis is like he owns like a commercial real estate business like over here in the Bay Area. Like he's like an angel investor. He does all this stuff. I mean, Andre Iguodala even talks to all the new upcoming warriors, and he tells them like, hey, like let me teach you how to invest. Let me teach you how to get into all these businesses, because we're in the Silicon Valley, man. Like there's all kinds of new businesses here. We could, promote, do things. We could go and talk at conferences for them, do whatever. Like, here's how you can start doing it. And, I think that's a really really important, piece of knowledge to have.
I agree. I agree 100%. And I think the NFL has been trying to implement that to all their rookies. Like I think there's like specific like seminars they got to go to, to sit in, to listen, oh, here's my story of what I wish I would have known. And like hindsight 2020, yeah, everyone when they're 30 or 40 probably wishes that they would have, listened to what they actually said, taking what they said like at like face value. Cause I know me personally, just being in some situations, you're like, dude, I'm like 18, like, let me enjoy this. And then like you get to like 26 or 27, you're like, crap, like, I really wish I would have like paid attention. You can do whatever, you can honestly do whatever you want, but some people are just unreachable. Like you can literally have them on your phone, texting them, reminders, you could like literally be speaking like me and you, not a podcast, but just like across from a table, just, talking, and like, they could be somewhere else and thinking about something else, or in one ear out the other. And it's really up to that person if they are willing to listen. And if they've really had, I don't know if it's a good upbringing, but where they're able to respect older people and not just like kind of blow them off. Like, oh, like you're just somebody, you don't know who I am. You don't care about me, but really, take it for what it's worth and know that they're looking out for them in the best interest. And because when you talk about this, it's like, it's not like a lot of people are, I mean, our whole society now is, what have you done for me lately? It's not, what'd you do for me 5 years ago? What are you going to do in 5 years? It's, what am I going to do now? And that's what a lot of the stuff is. Oh, you want to be set up in 5 to 10 years. I'm like, well, that's 5-10 years ago like in the future. Like, why do I need to know about it now? And I think it's great to do everything that we can to let people know about what they can do to prepare themselves for things that they've never experienced. Because you don't want to see anybody, down in the dumps, down in the streets, living where they're not, where they could have changed if they just paid attention, or, they went a different route. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it is crazy, especially with Shaq. And like, you have a name like Shaq too, that helps because no one else says Shaq, and you think Shaq and you know who that is. It's kind of like Zion or Tiger. Like, those names, who they are without even saying a last name.
Yep. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree. I agree with everything you said. And I mean, I think the biggest thing, going back to what you're saying, is like, I don't think it's so much of not respecting your elders, but it's like, you've been given an opportunity to make money that literally nobody in your family has ever seen. You only have dreamt of, right? You maybe only experienced it in a video game, playing like Grand Theft Auto or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah.
It's like, this is legal, money that you're making, and that is,
Right.
could essentially set you up for life. Like, when you're done, you're chilling. You don't have to worry about going and getting a normal job or trying to do anything like that. You just get out, you're done, and people will always remember what you did. And
right.
yeah, it's like, when you come into something like that, I think everyone, as you get older, and I'm sure you went through this too, where like you kind of realize what your parents may have sacrificed, what they did to try and give you the certain opportunities in which you have, or which you're presented with. You can't help but like not want to say, here, like, don't worry about it, I'll take care of all this stuff.
Right.
I mean, this is off subject now, but like, even Steve will do it, right, from the Nelk Boys. He has his own podcast, and he was talking on Raw podcast with Bradley Martin, right, content creator as well, about how his dad, like, his mom called him and said, like, hey, your dad needs a new car, and he's like, I just bought my dad like a Corvette C6 or whatever the new one is. He's like, I just bought him a new car, and he has a Range Rover. My mom has a really nice BMW, all this stuff. And he said, like, he asked his parents, like, why do you need another car? And his parents literally like, well, we don't want to put a lot of miles on the weekend cars.
Oh my gosh.
He said that like it hit him really deep, because he's like, I feel responsible for creating these monsters.
Yep.
He was literally was sitting there like, I don't understand how we came from not really having a lot. I mean, we had enough to get by.
Right, but not where they're at now. Yeah.
Yeah, not where they're at now, to where literally he's like, if I'm going even further into it, he's like, I gave my mom and dad their own Amex account that's I take care of. He goes, I get invoices on Friday nights of like $4,000 dinners, like $10,000 spending,
just getting in a way taken advantage of, even though.
And that was the thing. He's like, I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, but he's like, I don't know how to talk to my parents and say, like, guys, what are you doing? Like, this isn't like your guys' retirement. This isn't your money to go do all of this. Like, I understand you did a lot for me, but
I'm sure this money I've done more for you than you have, because of how much I paid.
And I think that's the same thing that correlates to some of these NFL players, to any professional athlete, where you end up just throwing money like it's being printed, which it is, but
right, or let it always continually come and not ever stop. Right, man.
And so yeah, I mean, it's going back to what the main point is, like, these college kids just need to be smart, and I think it's great to have resources, to have mentorship as far as like what professional athletes and maybe other people who have been in the situation have done. But ultimately, though, like, it's got to come down to the parents too, and they can't think of this like, oh my god, like, this is my golden ticket. Like, take care of your kid. I mean,
do it because you want the best for them. Do it because you want the, you don't, if whatever, do it because you want them happy. And if that's the route that the kid wants to go, great. If they want to work as a garbage man, which has been their dream because they love seeing the garbage guy come every day or whatever, like, as long as that person's happy, again, we're brand new parents. So, like, obviously I would love for my son to play golf. I'd love for my son to play baseball. I'd love for him to play some sport. If he's not interested in the sport, as much as it probably will hurt me a little bit, because that's something that has literally controlled my life, as I'm sure yours, any kind of sport. It's like, I'm hoping, and I think I will, but I'm not there yet. I'm hoping I'll still love him as much, and give him as much support as I can. Because it's but you know what I mean, right? Because I'm not saying I'm not going to, but I'm just saying, like, I'm not there. I know I will, but it's like, it's kind of like one of those things where you're like, man, like, he could not like it. There is a possibility, but right now he's throwing things. So I'm like, okay, cool. We got a good start. He's starting to chuck some like little balls around when I have us. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, so we got a good chance here.
Step into it, kid. Really, really wind up.
Yeah,
there.
Right. He's got a good little flick of the wrist, man. It's funny. Yeah. It's hilarious. But exactly. Yep, exactly. But I mean, I've thought about that stuff before. Where I remember LeBron's one of our good friends. He told me when I was at Cuesta, like, one of my buddies. I remember growing up and like one of the coaches would, a lot of the coaches are dads, and one of the coaches went up to his son. He goes, "You failed me as a son." And when they were like 12, and it's like, dude, this kid's like 12 and you're playing like a club baseball game. Like, how is this the pinnacle of your life right now?
Shared that story with you?
No. Not LeBron's dad, but like one of his teammates' dad, said that to him.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, let's not bring that name in because I don't even know who that is. But like,
I know. I know exactly. I was. No, that was on Blue. I think that was on Blue Devils for him. But that same thing happened on this. We had a travel team called the Braves, and we had this one kid that Bronze and him always went at it together. And Bronze, of course, got the starting spot. He also ends up making the All-Star team, ends up becoming the All-League MVP, does all this, right? All this stuff. Same thing. That dad said the same thing. So that kid had to hear it twice. And that thing is stuck with me for over like 12 years, dude. Yeah.
And I remember him telling me that, just like, are you serious? Like, this isn't like, I mean, I don't even know how you could say that to a kid, but like, you're a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old or whatever. It's like, that's what you live for. You're living, just tell your kid you're living through him and you failed that. Okay. Like the kid probably didn't even know, that like, obviously he might've known that the dad takes it seriously, but like to hear that as a kid at like 8 years old, that's going to trigger that kid for like the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure where that kid is now and how he's doing, but I'm like, I don't, and I'm like,
actually, I don't.
Oh, really?
I haven't spoken to that kid since 2009. Yeah, literally haven't had any contact with that person at all.
Man, but that's
yeah.
Go for it. Yeah.
No, I just remember that.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, it was tough to even watch it. Like the one that stuck with me when he did it was when we were in Lodi. That was where it really kind of popped off, and I was like, even my dad was just like, "Do I make you feel like that sometimes?" And I said, there are times where I can really feel how disappointed you are, but not that I failed you, or not that like not that I ever like I ruined your life because I'm not starting. My dad used to do this thing all the time. Whenever I was playing travel ball, whenever he'd come to my college games, even in my semi-professional independent career, like he would come to my games. He'd always sit down the third base line. He'd find a spot to sit away from the crowd. He'd never want to sit in the crowd, so he would just observe. But if I knew that I was going to go home with him after, he'd always have classic rock playing, and then he used to do this thing. He'd take the wheel with one hand and take his other hand and just slowly lower the music. Then he'd kind of lean in, put his arm on the armrest, and say, "All right, Mio, how do you think you did today?" And then I just knew for the next hour, 2 hours, however long it was going to take until we got home, we were going to be talking about it. Like he would ask me to self-reflect on my performances, and then he would he would very attentively listen, like hear what I'm saying, because obviously I was my biggest,
right. And that's our life as a kid. Yeah, that's our life. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so he would sit there and, really, really articulate everything that I was saying. And then finally he'd be like, "Okay, I agree with the first few things you said. Like your fielding was great. Like you were all over the place. You did awesome. Or if it was a pitching performance, like you really came out strong in those first few innings, but it just seemed like you kind of lost gas in, 6th and 7th inning. Like what happened? And then he would say like, "Well, I noticed you did this. It seemed like your coach was calling a few more curveballs, a little bit more off speed. You were having a little bit more trouble kind of getting that first pitch strike across. So you're having to work back. Your pitch count went from being like 4 pitches per batter, then it went to like 6, where you're really having to, really put some extra energy." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that." So he'd be like, "Maybe on your next bullpen, throw a few more throw a few more changeups. Like throw it like you would your fastball. Like really get it to place. Let that bottom drop out, but then keep in mind your strikeout changeup, right? Like take a little off of it, let it float, and just fall off the table like it does." And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, didn't even think about that." But those were the conversations that I'd have with my dad. But I never ever felt like I let him down. ever. My dad was having just as much fun as I was, even if he wasn't the one playing.
Right. Yeah, I know. Let's see, with my dad, I know same thing. Like you can definitely tell sometimes, they would feel disappointed. I felt like my dad, I'm sure just like your dad, loved bragging about you, to his friends, like, oh, who did this? Or, my dad, I would always hear that. And I'm like, go ahead and brag. That's fine. I've never been that person that brags about myself. If anyone wants to brag about me, fine. But I'm not going to tell them to brag about me. That I'm not that, and I'm not going to brag about myself. And, obviously not doing that well, sometimes there's nothing to brag about, especially when you're around the friends and their friends, they see it too. But yeah, I obviously hope that I'm as supportive as I can be, growing up, or as a father and growing. But I saw this one video recently, and it was this kid who was doing karate, trying to break one of those boards. And his dad was right next to him. And he was like, all right, hit it, break it. And then he hit it and he didn't break it. And he goes, you all right? He's like, why are you crying? Like, what's wrong? And he's like, is your hand hurt? The kid's like, yeah. It's like, okay, come here. He's like, did I make you feel like I'm disappointed in you for like not breaking, the actual piece of wood? He's like, yeah. He's like, hey, that's my bad. I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention at all. I told you we're in the car. If you don't break the board, it doesn't matter. I just want you to do something that you enjoy. And if you do it, great. If not, we're gonna get there. And if I made you feel that not breaking it, that you failed me as a son, that's on me. My bad. And I'm just like in tears over here, like, oh my gosh, man, like that was freaking amazing. That would be like incredible to do. But in the moment, it's probably difficult to, hide some emotions because you want your child to succeed. You want them to be happy. You want them to be proud of themselves for doing certain things.
Yeah. Definitely. But I couldn't agree more. Like I think about that all the time. And I have a little girl, so, I'm a man. I'm a boy. Like
yeah, right.
It's completely different. And I'm starting to learn even after 4 months, like, it takes patience. And that's the one thing with like, when I have to kind of dial myself back and be like, you know what? I don't get things right away either. So why am I holding like my wife or my kid to this standard? But dude, and I'm sure you're experiencing this too. Like it's incredible to see how, how quickly she's evolving, how quickly she's growing, and like,
it really is.
She's like trying to pull herself up. She's sitting there doing planks. Like she's starting to feel like her knees moving around so she can start crawling. But you put her down on her feet, and I've done this where like it's literally just like my index finger and my thumb just balancing her, and she'll sit there and she's holding herself, and then she holds her arms out and she's standing. And then when I put more grip, then she'll lift like it's only her left leg. Her left leg will lift, and she'll step towards me. And then that's like she's like trying to figure out what to do with her right leg. So it's incredible.
It really is, dude. It really is. I know. Yeah, go for it.
I think about like how my dad was with me when I was growing up, and it is kind of emotional. It's it's kind of a side where I don't really tend to talk too much about, but those that know me do kind of know. And some people will say like, with what you experience, like, how do you not resent your dad? And I've been asked this. A lot. How do you not resent your dad? And I said, because he taught me how to be a man. He taught me that not all things are a straight line. Some things are going to be broken. Some things are going to be a little windy. Some things you're going to walk into something that is completely blind, but that's life. And I think the biggest thing for us as men is to be able to strive in those or thrive in those types of situations, because it is our job to be providers and to be carers and for our home and for the people that we love. And my dad did that better than anybody else out there. Like in my opinion, there's nobody else that could have done what my dad went through, and giving my sister and everything that we could. I mean, when you talk about a parent that sits there and says like, hey, if your dream is to become, a professional baseball player, I'm going to support you 110% until you tell me that I think I need to do something else, which he did every single
and that's all you can do as a parent. I feel like if you do that, you're doing everything you can for your kid. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, that's my dad. And it's like, even now, it's crazy watching him now being like
a different side. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy seeing him become a grandpa now, and just the way that he looks at my daughter and the way that he cares. And, I don't know if I shared this with you, but the week before she was born, he had 2 heart attacks.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
It's like, he carries that on his shoulder like it's a badge. Like, he owns it. Like, he's like, no, like, my goal now is to get healthy, to be strong. And he's like, I want to see her graduate high school. That's my goal. And I'm like, dude, since that's happened, I swear, like, I saw a picture of my dad and mom, like, during a week after our wedding. And I'm not going to say like my parents were fat, but you could tell like they were a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more
yeah, right.
Free.
Yeah, right.
Now, bro, my dad's lost like almost 50 pounds, and it's crazy.
Wow.
My mom is like 35 pounds. Like, it's insane to see how much they've changed, and it's like, here I am, still trying to just get back in the swing of things,
Right.
Like, at 5 a.m. and I'm like, all right, gotta go at 8 before baby goes to sleep, or after baby goes to sleep. Do all this different stuff. But yeah, man, it's for all the dads out there, like, we get it. We're all going through this transition. We're not perfect, and that's what makes us great. But to our kids, we are their heroes. We are their icons. So be mindful of what you're doing. If
definitely.
If you want to sit there and tell your daughter, your son, your they them, what they should be doing, and that they can do it, hold yourself to the same standard. If you want to make something better in your life, you hold it too, because you are a walking mentor for their entire life, and it never stops.
And I agree. I mean, like, I know, just in general, like, if you have a great parent, awesome, you can learn from a great parent. If you have a bad parent, you can learn from a bad parent. It definitely might change your outcome and look on life, but you definitely can learn both ways. Hey, what to do as a parent, or what not to do as a parent, what didn't work on you, and even good parents have some bad days, like, everyone's human. And I feel like, as a parent, it's like you said earlier, like, just watching like your daughter grow and see like every day something new happens, like right now with my son, he's like crawling all over the place. He's literally standing on anything that he can. He'll now stand on things and just grab everything and knock it on the ground. Today he threw my wife's coffee cup all over the freaking carpet. And he had like, I'll send you a picture later. He has like coffee all over like his face. It was cold. It wasn't hot. So it wasn't like anything like that, but it was kind of funny. It was like, oh my gosh, you can't put anything on the table anymore. Like, you have to make sure it's clear, or that kid's just going to grab it, throw it on the ground, grab it, throw it over here. And, I mean, it's definitely like a blessing, just to be a parent, and especially with a love that you never experienced before, and you can't have unless you have your own kid, And it was always kind of frustrating that you could, at least for me, that I couldn't feel that until like you had your own kid, because everyone's like, it's something you'll never experience until you have your own kid. Like, that's like the main saying. And to me, I'm like, dang, like, what can you compare it to? Like, and there really isn't anything,
Yeah.
But
well, my just kind of elaborating more, is like my godmother. I recently just spoke to her, and she was saying that I guess her and some of my aunts ran into my dad in Half Moon Bay, and like, my dad was bragging about how good of a father I am, and how he's like, I'm at a loss of words because he's like, I don't know where he got it from. Like he's so like, attentive, he's so patient, he's so nurturing to like Isis and Adelina. Like he's just really putting himself like in these moments and being there. He's like, I was always distracted, and this is like, I've never really said this, but like when I was going to college, I was living at my uncle's house, and my little cousin Max, he was probably like in 5th grade, give or take. So throughout that whole time, that I was living there before I got my own place, like he was essentially like my son. Like I did everything. If I was going to go out to go work out and no one was home, I couldn't leave him home. So I'd be like, hey, let's go, come to the gym with me. Hey, I need to go to the store. You come with me. And I would put his seat in the car. I would, make sure that like, okay, it's been 4 hours since you got off of school. Like, what do you want to eat or have snacks?
Yeah.
With his homework, like all this stuff. And now, it's like, here he is about to graduate college. And it's like, that was almost like, I feel like I raised that kid, I spent a lot of time with him. I mean, even to the points where like my uncle even said like, I never had to have the bees and the birds talk with with my kid. I was like, I didn't mean to take that away from him. He's like, but at least I taught him how to shave. And I was like, oh, cool.
That's hilarious.
So he was like,
wow.
Yeah. He's like, no, you don't have to feel sorry about it. He's like, I'm thankful that he heard it from you and he's doing good.
Oh man, I know you like going back to what you're saying about like parenting. I don't know if it was like our generation of parents, but I know with my dad, I was born on a Thursday, went to work on a Friday, and like had the weekend off. Maybe I don't even think he took a day off of work. My son was born. I took 2 months off. Like I'm sure with your daughter, when she was born, you took at least a month or something off. You at least took something off. And I would assume that your dad probably went to work the next day, same or something similar because of the 90s. And I don't even think there was paternity leave back then. It's new. And like me personally, like I was just talking about this with my wife. Like I am someone that thinks that everything should be right down the middle for like a husband and a wife, like 50-50. Everyone, you pull your own share. Men don't do more. Obviously, women can do things that men can't. Men can do things that women can't, right? But at the end of the day, it should be both fair, right? And to an extent, obviously, you're not going to have them do outlandish things that they can't do. But I've always been like,
I'm just waiting to see what these comments are going to be, because when we get something, I'm kind of curious to see what people are going to say.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, when it comes to like my son being born, I was just like you. Like I was always there. If my wife needed help, I was there. Like, hey, oh, can you help put him down? Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, can you help do this? And like my parents would be there, and my mom, within the first few times she saw him, she's like, wow, like you're just like your. Whether it was your dad or your mom, you're just so attentive. It's so nice to see how much you help Stephanie. It's so nice to see how much you help out with your son, at such a young age. Because I don't think my dad was doing it that much. Maybe like your dad, he was distracted. My dad was the breadwinner. My mom was staying at home at the time. And so I was just like, yeah, like I'm trying to pull my own weight here. Like my wife did everything for this baby. And now like I'm trying to help out as much as I can, on the other side of things where I can actually help. And I want to do it. It's not like I'm feeling like I'm being forced. It's weird because obviously you have any other baby and you're like, ew, poop, ew, pee. But with your baby, you're like, okay, it's not that bad. It's okay. Yeah. It could be worse.
All right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But like, and like one of my wife's cousins, she said she has like 3 kids, and she's like, my husband will sleep in the other room if the baby's crying too loud. And I'm like, if my son, when he was in our room, like if he was crying, I'd pick him up and walk him around, or Stephanie would. We go back and forth. I'm like, yo, this is our baby. This isn't your baby. Like we wanted this, not I wanted this. And it's crazy how some relationships in like families differ with that, like, oh, it's only the women's. It's like, no. Like the man is just as much input on that. You
got to remember too. I think there's a there's cultures you have to deal
Cultures,
with.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
the luxury of being at home, you know, of us having paternity leave is unheard of to some, right? Like,
right.
I mean, my dad tells me a story all the time. When I was born, he was out playing basketball. Like, all of a sudden, he gets a call from the payphone, like, "Hey, we need to go." Like, you know, my aunt called and was like, you know, Yolanda's having the kid. We got to go. And he like got in his car, got to the hospital, and then yeah, you're right. He went right back to work. You know, right back to work the next day, and then he asked for some vacation time. Right.
Wow.
So, you know, that was kind of what it was, but it was like a few months later. But still, and then like during that time too, like my dad was going back to college. He was doing all this other stuff. Like,
wow.
You know, yeah, he did it all. And so I think to, you know, to what you said, is like, there are some cultural things that, you know, maybe we just don't like, even in Latin households, like, you know, you said everything is 50-50. Like in Latin households, it's like, nah, the man does, even if she is the breadwinner, it's like, I'm taking care of the mortgage, the electric, the food, the, you know, whatever it is that we may need, gas, like cars, everything. I do my best, but you know, I have somebody who is like very like, no, like I'm super independent. If I have something, like I want to take care of my own shit. You take care of whatever you can, and if I can help, then you let me know.
Right. So, and every relationship's different. Yeah, every relationship's different. Everyone, like, my relationship isn't like your relationship, but they work. Yeah. You know, like there's more than one way to build a cake, right? So it's not like there's one size fits all, for sure.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, and that's, yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I think there's just a lot of different things, but you know, I think ultimately, man, it's just, to me personally, like Isis and I communicate really well, and
that's the main thing, dude. Communication, it's key.
She was the one who did get up, like if she started crying in the middle of the night, but Adelina's been really good. She's pretty much slept through the entire night since we brought her home. Like,
I hate you. We
would have to wake her up. We would have to wake her up to feed her. And now here she is at 4 months, and she's sleeping 8 hours, all the way up until 7 a.m. You know,
what time you put her down? 9 or 10, 11?
8. So a little bit longer. Yeah.
Yeah, we put our son down to 7:30. He wakes up around 6:30 or 6, depending on.
She'll wake up around. Okay, she'll wake up around like 4:35, only because we put her down to 8. Like, her diaper's kind of full. It's maybe a little
right.
So then she go over there and change her, and then she just goes right back into bed, and she goes to sleep until 9.
I hate you, man. It took me about like a month and a half, 2 months. No, maybe 3 to 4 months to have a full night's sleep.
Well, I've heard that's the biggest difference between like girls and boys. The girls are
really
some girls like my sister.
If I have a girl and this doesn't happen, dude, I'm gonna be like pointing so many fingers at you, man. Yeah. You told me, you promised.
Well, like, so my sister was the problematic one. When I was born, my mom literally would like have to check on me like every 45 minutes because she would think I wasn't breathing because all I did was sleep. I would sleep, feed, sleep, feed, sleep, feed, and she's the exact same. So
wow.
I'm thinking she just got that side of me because her her ability to be very vigilant I feel like is also me. I feel like she got a huge amount of strength from me as well. But her intelligence, though, her ability to like retain certain what's the word I'm looking for? Routines.
Yeah.
It's all her mom. I mean, fucking Isis was like honor roll, valedictorian, like, and here I was barely graduating high school. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah, just to be eligible for baseball, really.
Yeah, just got the bare minimum to be on the field. But that's where I'm noticing is like the difference is like she has my height, she has my size. I mean, just looking at pictures from when we first brought her home to now, it's like, holy shit. Like, she went from being like just the size of.
It's crazy. You don't notice it how much she's grown until you look at those photos.
I mean, and for weight, like everything, it's insane, dude. I do want to touch on one quick thing. I know we're kind of coming up on time here, but
what's up?
Did you hear this conspiracy regarding Damar Hamlin, right? That he actually died, and the person that showed up to the game wasn't him, because this person was like, you couldn't even see their face. Apparently the body style was completely different, and like the NFL is trying to like cover this up as like a way so they don't get any lawsuits, and apparently they are.
Oh yeah.
They're paying out like his whole family like millions and millions of dollars just to not say anything.
I haven't looked too far into it. I've seen things on Twitter and the questions that come up. I'm like, okay, there's nothing wrong with questioning it when it is sketchy, with this where it's like, okay, why is his whole face covered? His whole body's covered. There hasn't been any pictures or anything that's come up after. So apparently his uncle said that, I think it was his uncle, I could be wrong. Someone in his family said he was revived twice, like on the field. And then apparently a week or two later, he's like, oh, I didn't say he was revived twice or whatever. Something completely that didn't match up. Like the videos of him going like this or whatever. Like I've seen so many people, which kind of ticks me off. Like I'm okay with people asking questions, wanting to know the truth. Like, hey, some of the stuff isn't really adding up. Like, like it's nothing wrong to question that, but the people that really upset me are the fake outrage people that are like using that as like, oh, how dare you? Like, of course he's fine. Like, give him his space. Well, if they're already putting him on the main screen, like Damar Hamlin, here you go. Like, we're so happy to have you back. We're so happy you're okay. Why is he covering his whole face? Like, if he's not at the game because he's sick or whatever.
The pictures of him, even the pictures of him on the hospital bed when apparently he woke up, people were saying it looks like a different person because he even has like, a mask on. Yeah, really? Like that was the other thing, and like all the pictures, because like he has dreads, right? Like he has the long hair, but in the hospital, the picture that people are really saying like, okay, wait, this isn't him. Like. You can't see the hair.
Oh,
like
really?
He has like a head, like one of those head surgical, one of the head
caps or whatever.
The surgical hats, and then his mask is like so big, it's just like this, so you can't even like see that it's him. But then I also thought that it was weird that when he was at the game, first off, he's standing in the luxury suite; it's not lit up
at all.
Weird. At all. You just see his bright blue puffy jacket.
Yep.
His red pants. You see him walk in. Doesn't quite. I mean, I'm looking at a picture of him right now. Like he's a pretty skinny dude. I mean, he's not skinny, but he has he has a very skinny structure.
Right.
He looks like a totally different person when he's walking through. But then I was just like, is this like? Could that really be it? Because.
I mean, with all the forced vaccinations, dude. I mean, I would assume that was the one thing. Like when this whole thing happened, a lot of people, and then again, questions. I'm fine with people asking questions, wanting to know, like, hey, did this have an issue? Did this have an effect on it? All these forced vaccinations and all the things that are coming out now about the heart issues, with people that are vaccinated. I was forcefully vaccinated. I didn't want to be, but I had to for work. I was having a kid. I'm like, I'm not losing my job just so I can, not be able to pay for my kid. Like I'm the breadwinner right now, and so like I'm fine. I don't mind seeing things where it says like, oh, X amount of people with heart issues. Like obviously it sucks. I pray that it's not going to happen to me, but who says that couldn't have been an issue? That could have been a factor in it. It might not have been the whole thing, but it could have played a role. There have been athletes all over the world, if you really look into it, that literally just stand and just fall and die. Like if you want to look soccer in like Europe, it's crazy. And like South America. So it's happening everywhere, but it's getting pushed down. And I'm all for questioning. I'm all for that because it's so easy to hide the truth now and
I don't
to
think
hide
it's that
what
easy.
They want.
Well,
I think it's easy.
I think now because of all the social media stuff, like everything that's out there, like there's a lot of things that people can kind of take videos and correlate. And then on top of that too, if something makes sense, if something is too close to the truth, all of a sudden that video gets completely wiped from the internet. Completely wiped. You can't find it anywhere. Right? Yep. I mean, think about all the shit that like I mean, we don't talk about, like, a lot of people might find this kind of, offensive to some, but Andrew Tate, everything he talked about with like combustion engines and why he thinks combustion engines need to stick around and why they're trying to control the people with smart cars because they can shut it off, right? Mm-hmm. They can shut it off with
you
electric.
You can look at that stuff all day, and I mean, like, it's crazy and it's scary to an extent.
But like all those videos where he went into high, like it's a very high factual points as to like why these things are starting to push this whole clean air initiative. He's like, they don't give a shit about it. They're digging up all kinds of stuff over, across the world. Like,
then they're flying in their private jets. They're flying in their private jets into these events, and it's like, if you cared, you wouldn't be flying a jet. And
now you can't even find clips of it. You can't find anything. Like, it's all gone. All those points he hit on. It's like you'll see some clips of people who have like
saved him at some point or something.
Yeah, saved it, like literally saved it to like their phone. But like, now if you were to go and look at videos on YouTube, you try and look at them on TikTok, Instagram, you can't find certain things because some of the points he listed were like too spot on. And it's like,
and I mean, go back to DeMar Hamlin. I obviously hope that he's fine. I hope that this is like it just something because he's not comfortable with showing his face, which I could completely understand in that situation. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not close to the situation. I don't know. I mean, I pray that the guy's okay and that it's actually him and that he's just not comfortable being in front of people. Maybe something happened to his face. Maybe something, I don't know. But I don't know.
What do you to kind of continue to build on this? But like, so did you watch the 49ers Cowboys game?
Some of it, yeah, I did.
Okay, so Jimmy Ward made a tackle on who's the running back for the Cowboys?
Elliott or Pollard?
Pollard. So he made the tackle behind Pollard, but when he pulled him down, Pollard's ankle got stuck under Jimmy's leg, and it just snapped. Like, you saw the bone just click out of his sock. And the NFL now is trying to remove any back. I guess where you're tackling someone from behind and pulling them back.
Really?
So you have to stay in motion. So if you're going to tackle somebody, it's like now you're going to like bring back the spear to like put them down into the ground. But apparently after that happened, because it's happening a lot. There's a lot of, it happened to Mostert back in 2021, right? Obviously happened to Pollard. It did happen to Saquon, right? Where when he got tackled and all the weight fell and his knee popped. Like, it's happened a lot. And it's happening to a lot of franchise players, right? So obviously, what we spoke about earlier, they're the assets. They're the money makers. So if you're giving all these guys guaranteed money, like, we want to see performance. Right. So if you're tackling somebody from behind, they're trying to now remove that. Like, the NFL is trying to remove that type of tackle. And I'm like, guys, you can't put these types of sanctions on the game. Like, this is a physical game. This is football. Like,
but not just that. It's so fast paced. It's so like that. Like, you're telling me you have to make a decision like that.
Every offensive or defensive player can get, for some, can get up to the speeds of anywhere from 17 to 23 miles an hour. Like, that's a lot of force to, like, if even Tyreek Hill, fastest player in the NFL right now, like, if he's coming at you full bore and then he ends up dropping his shoulder and you're coming at him dropping, and you drop your shoulder, best believe, like, you could dislocate a shoulder. You could definitely get your head rocked and passed out.
But then if that turns into helmet to helmet, the tackler gets fined, even though it's not his fault.
But I'm just saying, like, but like what you said,
you get hurt anyway.
Fast. The game is moving so fast. It's literally like two Priuses going at 20 miles an hour and hitting head on. It's almost the same thing.
Pretty much, because they're so unprotected and you're going to get smashed in a Prius.
Or you could even say a smart car. It's just going to collapse and now you're dead. Like,
right.
Your body's doing the same thing. And so, man, I just, I don't know.
I don't like all the rules that they're trying to add on here. There are some that I'm not off the top of my head. I'm blanking right now, but like that makes sense. But one's like if you're sacking a quarterback, you have to not lay on them. Okay, well, what if it's like a Ben Roethlisberger? Obviously, he's retired, but you instead of laying on top of him, you go to the side and he breaks off it because it's like an arm tackle. The dude's like 6'7", 260. Okay, well, there he's gone. I don't get the sack. There goes an extra $1 million on my next contract, and he might throw a TD pass on me. We lose because of that. One guy, when they did implement that rule of not laying on the quarterback or putting all your weight on the quarterback, literally tore his ACL because he tried to move over a little, like take a step to the right or to the left. And obviously there's a big pushback on any new rule that happens at the beginning, and then it kind of eventually gets okay, but like it's still some of them they're obviously just pushing it for fantasy values. If that were to happen to a defensive player and there's defensive injuries, very rarely will they do anything besides that new blindside block rule. Besides that, it's all offense. Offense makes the money.
But how many defensive, like for an example, how many defensive linemen do you see out there without knee guards? None. Like they're tearing their ACLs all the time because you have a 300, 400-pound dude falling on your leg. You can't do anything about that, but no one says anything about that. But Pollard gets tackled from behind. Jimmy Ward's made as the victim. Like, we need to fix that. It's like, dude, this is why people are literally saying, like, people in sports, quite honestly, like, you don't need that type of contract. You don't need that much money. Like, we get that you have it, but maybe put it back into the experience. Put it back into the stadium. Create more freaking parking. I'm talking specifically about like the Niners, right? Like,
that's impossible. I've been there.
Yeah, go and buy Great America now that it's about to be torn down, and go make it like a fan zone where you can like get, you have like third-party sellers over there, like use it as a way to like give back to the communities. Let food trucks come in there and let people tailgate with that instead of having to get people to do tailgating season pass tickets with parking tickets that are, freaking
insane amounts of money,
tens of thousands of dollars for a season. And then on top of that, you have these people buying all this money, and then now you want to police it. If they have too much alcohol, no, you can't. You gotta throw some of that out. You gotta put it away. Oh wait, no, you guys can't have a smoker like that. You can't do that because it could create a fire. Like, for God's sakes, we're on asphalt here. Like, stuff isn't gonna go flying out. Like,
right.
These are the fans. This is what it is. Like, not everybody wants to be gentrified fan like the Las Vegas Raiders. Like, there's nowhere for you to do any type of tailgating. And the Raiders fan base that's a specific fan base right there. Not saying like
we could have a whole episode on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm saying like it's like it's bad, but hey, when you're coming from Oakland, I mean, I've been to a Raiders game, dude. A's games, Giants games, totally different. Niners games, Raiders games, it's night and day different, dude. Like, you want to talk about passionate people like Philadelphia, like the Bills Mafia, all the stuff like that. Like, that's what people had in Oakland. They looked forward to that Monday, Sunday night, Thursday to get off work and just get over there and just be as loud and obnoxious as you possibly could. Just get with your team, regardless of how shitty they are. They just always stood by it. Where Niners fans, like, I'll admit, like, it's all about this with Niners fans. Like, if you're one of those diehards, you're sitting up in the nosebleeds now. Where before, a Candlestick, you could sit down on the 50-yard line for a good ticket. Now those tickets are $1,200.
Yeah, dude. The ticket prices themselves are ridiculous, and they're not. It's kind of like college now. The college price is going up so much, and how much people make is staying the same. Same with how much tickets are for football, basketball, baseball games. Baseball is probably the easiest to get to because there's 81 games at each stadium compared to football where you get 8 or 9. Basketball, you get 40, 41 or something like that. And it's also a lot smaller of a stadium compared to baseball. Baseball, you can get anywhere from 40 to 70,000 fans. Football, you could get up there. I think Dallas is like 100,000, but still, like, you're not sitting in a great spot if you're super high up. in one of those nice stadiums. But yeah, dude, what an episode. We talked.
You're not going to miss a single play.
Well, yeah, by watching it at the Jumbotron, basically watching it in a glorified TV, like at home, like why do that if you can do that at home with a bathroom, cheaper food, cheaper beer, and like you have all the angles too, like better angles than the TV there, and you're like, yay, all right, go team, go. But man, this is definitely our longest episode. If you've made it this far and you haven't already, checked us out on Instagram, on TikTok now, on YouTube. Definitely check us out there. We are going to be, within the next week and a half, we'll be at the Pro-Am. Julio and I will be at the Pro-Am. That'll be fun. Hopefully I'll be able to create a little video from my GoPro on that, and you guys will be able to check out our experience. And, hopefully we'll have a blast there. Should be some good weather. Not too warm, not too cold, but, I mean, Monterey is kind of cold for the most part. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys hopefully next Wednesday. Have a great day.
I mentioned at the beginning of the video we had some news. We weren't able to get to that because we got into the pretty depths of what it's like with fatherhood and the beauties that come with it. But we'll hold it off till next Wednesday.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. We got some big moves, some big announcements coming out soon. So hopefully you guys can appreciate them. As always, we greatly appreciate your support. We love that you guys are here and listening and enjoying the content that we're putting out. Again, we're just two dads and two good friends that just love talking about sports and everything that comes with being a father and just everyday things. So if there's any feedbacks or things that you guys want, to hear about or for us to elaborate on, we're always open to it. So
that's for sure.
Friday. Have yourselves a great weekend, and let's go Niners on Sunday.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. See ya.